Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. In this episode, I'm chatting with Natalie Meheut. Natalie was the first female AS90 Gunner, joining the Royal Artillery in 1998 and later transferred to the Adjutant Generals Corps before being medically discharged. Natalie discusses what it was like as a female gunner and also as a single mum later on in her military career. I'd just like to say, if you like these podcasts or any of the previous ones, please consider buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Frankie'sPod. It just helps out for the cost of the hosting of the software that I'm using. Thanks very much. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking to Natalie. Natalie joined the army in, I don't know, when did you join, Natalie?
1998.
Where did you grow up and what made you join the army?
So I was born in Scotland, in Glasgow, and I grew up in the Highlands in a little village town called Arizeg. My parents moved back down to Glasgow when I was 10 to a little shithole village called Larkhall. And I mean, it's a shithole village, like. It's all about the red, white and blue.
Right.
I knew that if I didn't join up, that I'd end up like everybody else in the village who all wore the same clothes, had the same hairstyle, acted the same. They all did the same shit, boring shit. I knew that I'd end up like them if I didn't get away, so I joined the military.
So what made you choose the army then?
Well, I didn't initially.
Oh, all right.
So when I was in high school, I joined the RAF cadets, which weren't that far away from me at 13. Yeah, I think I was 13 at the time. I actually really enjoyed it. We did a lot of shit, flying out, and I think it was chipmunks, and we did gliding. We learnt to shoot the 2-2. We went out camping and played soldiers as kids. It was fun. But at 17, I'd had enough of school. I'd had enough of my parents. I'd just had enough. And at the time, I was working in a factory doing distribution, but I was taking whiz to keep me awake because it was a night shift. And so it was just a slippery slope, and I knew it was coming, so I needed to get away. So I joined up, but I joined the RAF.
Right.
RAF training was really fucking easy. It was the RAF regiment that did the training, but I fucking flew through it all, and then can't even remember where that was. I think it was Halton.
I was about to say, where was that at? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was RAF Halton. Yeah, it was definitely Halton. And then I did phase 2 training in Cannock. I don't know the name of the RAF base, but I know it's near Cannock, just outside of Birmingham. I'm trying to think, but I can't think. Anyway, it was a fucking boring course, and I just wanted to go out and get pissed and have fun. So I slept through most of my course. As you do, innit? That's what you do. Well, when you're fucking 17, that's what you do. Anyway, I got into trouble on numerous occasions for numerous shit. A lot of it I didn't get caught for, but I got pulled into the office one day and they said you're going to be discharged, and there was a way they put it, but you know, it wasn't dishonorably discharged, it was something else. I was just discharged, administrative discharge or something. I don't know.
Like service is no longer required type thing.
Sort of that kind of thing, yeah. Basically, they just put that I wasn't suitable for the military. I hadn't finished the training. I think I'd only done about 7 or 8 weeks, and I was just bored of it anyway. So I went back home, started working in the factory again, taking drugs again to keep me awake, to do the job, whilst joined the army. It didn't take too long. It was about 8 months before it all sort of panned out. And I went into the, recruiting office, and fuck me, I looked like I can remember I wore this fucking purple suit. I must have looked like a right fucking twat. But I was a skinny little twat, so it wasn't too bad. And then I joined the army. I joined from the recruiting office in Hamilton, which was just not far away from where I lived in Larkhall. And I think they predominantly were the guys that were recruiting. They were artillery, so they recruited me into the artillery. Quite frankly, I hadn't a fucking clue what I was signing up for. I just knew I needed to get out. I needed to get away. I wanted to get away from my dad. He was a cunt. I just wanted to get away from everything that I was surrounded by. So I just was like, yep, fine, I'll do whatever the fuck. So they sent me down to Larkhill. No, they didn't. They sent me down to Purbright, and I did 4 weeks Step A training, which was basically weeding out all the wet wipes, those that couldn't do any of the fizz or hack any of the rules, blah, blah, blah. And then 12 weeks proper basic training.
How did that compare to the RAF?
Well, it was a lot more fucking interesting, a lot less class work, a lot less boring. It was more physical, and I'm not really a class type person. I never got on in school, so the RAF was really just fucking downhill from the start, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Anyway, because it was more physical, even though there was a bit of class work, it wasn't fucking the end of the world, because it piqued my interest. Everything that they did, I was interested in, because I knew it had a physical side to it that I would really enjoy. So anyway, I passed out of basic training, and then I went to Larkhill. And I remember when we got to Larkhill, we got settled into our dorms, and then at the end of the first day, we all sat in this classroom, all of us that had left that training group. We all sat in this classroom, and there was a staffy and a sergeant, and they were talking about all the. And I wasn't paying attention, frankly, right? Because I just have got fucking ADHD, and I don't pay attention to a lot of things at the best of times. So I wasn't paying attention. I was busy chatting to people around me because I'd made friends with them in training, basic training. And we were in Larkhill for trade training. We sat in this classroom, and they went round everybody asking them what it was they wanted to do in the artillery. I didn't know what I was signing up for when I signed up for it, frankly. Quite frankly. The guy sat next to me said AS90. So I said AS90. I didn't know that women had never done it. Anyway, when I said that, it was like, it was really fucking quite surreal, because they all just stopped fucking talking, and everybody turned around to look at me, and I was just like, yeah, I'll do that. I didn't know what it. And the staffy came up to me and he went, right, we'll get you on. I'll make sure you get on that. And I'm just like, okay, no, whatever. I didn't think it was a big deal. I didn't know women had never done it before. I'd never researched anything. I just wanted to get out of fucking where I was and get into fucking something else. So when he said AS90, I thought, fuck it, I'll just do that. Sounds better than driving or signals, so I'll just do that. Anyway, little did I know that, I would be the first woman to do that ever in the British Army.
I remember that because when you got to the regiment, you literally were told you were the first female AS90 gunner.
Yes, mate.
Yeah, right, fair enough.
I remember getting to the regiment, right, and they put me in J battery, and they said, the battery's out in Bosnia, you'll go and join them. And I was like, okay, it's fine. So it took a little while. It took a couple of weeks after getting all my admin sorted and getting all my kit and blah-de-blah. And then I went out and I met you guys in Glamok, and I'll never forget it, right? Because they picked me up. There was a few of us that went out. We picked up in a DAF, and I've never been so fucking cold in my life driving through the hills. And I got there, and we were in a big factory, and I remember walking through past all the guns, thinking, "Wow, they're big fuckers."
Yeah.
Not that I hadn't seen them, because I'd seen them in trade training, obviously, do me training, but there was six of them, I think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there were six of them, and I walked through there, and then I walked past the little football stadium that had been built that I used to do me rollerblading in, and then I walked through, and I walked into when I was going to go and see the Sergeant Major at J Battery, and as I was walking in, someone was walking out after signing off because he wasn't happy that a female was joining his gun. I was fucking pissed myself laughing.
Yeah, Glamok was all right. I enjoyed it there.
I did. I had a fucking great time. I mean, it was brilliant. Don't remember a fucking lot. I was a dickhead. I remember going on a patrol, getting smashed. We were eating pizzas up in the hill, and fuck knows how we made it back in the Land Rover in one piece. But then the Irish lad, and I can't remember what his name was, projectile vomited. Do you remember that? He projectile vomited. When we were stood on parade, we all felt like shit, but he was fucking projectile vomited from the front of the front row. I can't remember what his name was. He was an Irish lad. He got fucking shafted. He got taken outside and beasted PT style.
No, it was good. I enjoyed that tour. I mean, I had a bit of a shit time that I ended up failing me full screws course, and I got took off it. So it wasn't punishment. I think it was to say, all right, fair enough. At the end of it, I ended up running the bar for a bit. Yeah, there was some good nights in that bar, to be honest. Quiz nights and
I had a lot of fun at it in Glamok. It was brilliant. A lot of fun. Probably a lot more fun than I fucking should have had, but you know.
I think we all did.
We all young once, mate.
Yeah, true. So what was next for you once we got back from Glamok? Because I left the regiment soon after that to go to Larkhill.
When I got back, I was still in J Battery, but they didn't really like me very much. I don't know. It was really hard because I'd spent months in Glamok trying to prove myself that I was capable of doing the job that they had, that I had, gone through trade training to do. And I was always getting fucking trouble as well. I was part of Andrew Mills' gun, and a lot of it was servicing, a lot of downtime, and then we would end up on the ranges in the winter.
Yeah.
Bergen-Honer ranges for winter exercise, which was fucking torture. And then I got into trouble quite a few times. And I remember after we had like a Honolulu type do up in the battery bars, for the regiment coming back. And one of the wifeys was talking shit about me, was talking shit about one of my mates. And I basically turned her and I said to her, look, fuck off, die. And she had a go at me and I had a go at her. And I got into trouble for it, but actually she was the one that started on me first, not the other way around. And thankfully I had a witness to say that that's what happened, and nothing came of it. But then I went away, and I'm not sure where I went. I was away, and I think we went back out to Bosnia, and her husband got posted. Before she left, she kindly scratched 5 panels in my car. I was fuming about that, because by the time I got back, she was gone, because I knew she'd done it.
That leads me on to the question. So when you joined the artillery, there wasn't many female soldiers in the artillery then, at all.
No.
Especially, you've been the first AS90 Gunner and stuff like that. How did you feel the regiment took to you or treat you as a female soldier? Do you think they treat you differently to the male soldiers around you?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I mean, there was a few girls that did signals. There was clerks, there was drivers, there was chefs, but there was a couple of Remy girls as well, if I remember rightly. But it was really hard. I found I was watching a lot of the guys coming in behind me, getting chucked on promotion courses before me and getting promoted ahead of me. And that was one of the reasons that I decided to leave. You know, if I'm not going to fucking progress within the career that I'd chosen, the job that I'd chosen, then what's the point in staying in it? I basically went up to the CEO one day and I said, "Look, what's good? You need to. I need to move. I either need to get on a promotion course and move up, or I need to leave so that I can move up." And he said, he told me, and I want to quote, but I can't because it was so long ago. But he said to me, "It's complicated." So I turned around and said to him, "All due respect, I'll uncomplicate it for you. You either put me on a promotion course so that I can progress, or I'm leaving." And he said, "Don't leave. I'll see what I can do." Now, I gave him a month and nothing happened. So I went back up and I told him I was leaving. And that's when I transferred.
And that was you transferring to AGC?
Yeah, I transferred to the AGC because I'd been diagnosed with narcolepsy about a year before. No, probably about 7 or 8 months before I got diagnosed with narcolepsy. And although I had multiple restrictions, I was still more than capable of doing what I was doing. I still managed to do everything. They just didn't want me to do anything in case something happened and there was some sort of massive insurance claim or compensation claim or whatever the fuck they decided they wanted to call it. I would never have done that, but you know, that's just the way it goes.
I never knew that. I never knew you had narcolepsy.
That was another reason that I transferred. I wanted to become a dog handler. I wanted to do dog handling, but because I had to have a weapon, and at the time I wasn't allowed to handle a weapon, the AGC was the only option. Sorry, dog's biting my knickers.
I'm leaving that in. That's thrown me, that as.
But I was only in J battery for about 8 months when they transferred me to C battery because they couldn't handle me. Basically, I was too naughty for them.
I think there was a lot of naughty people in that battery then. I mean, I wasn't exactly the best soldier in the world, let's say. I think I got into trouble quite a few times, quite a lot.
Yeah, I think also that you know, because I was the first female gunner, and there was a lot of we don't want her, and I know that the guys said it, but they would never say it to me. I know that they said it because I'd been told, but I think that's why I got transferred over to C battery. I had a better time in C battery than I did J battery anyway. So,
to be fair, I mean, I'll admit it was said, and it wasn't down to you personally. I think it was just the shock of none of us had worked with female soldiers before, and then you came in.
I get it.
And I went,
I get it.
You were a fucking ball of fire. You really were. You just like you weren't quiet. You weren't, you weren't what I would think that you weren't a Victorian housewife. You know what I mean, type of thing.
No, mate, far from it.
No, and
I was a fucking like.
If you think back, then you had like, I'd say from full screw down. Let's say we didn't give a toss, but it was a shock, and there was a lot of people like, this isn't right. It shouldn't be, And that was, I mean, you think it's quite a while back now, and the army has changed since then. It has got better. It's got better with a lot of things. I mean, I noticed that in my time, and I got out 11, nearly 12 years ago. But it had got better. When I was later on in third, there was obviously lots and lots more female soldiers on the guns as well. When I went to 3-9, there was lots of female soldiers on the launches and stuff like that, and there was no one batted an eyelid. It's like going back to you weren't allowed to be gay in the military, and then all of a sudden you were, and people were coming out, and like I remember one of the lads, not mentioning any names or anything like that, he came out, and everybody went, "Yeah, we know," and nobody batted an eyelid. Nobody was bothered. But it's just progression. You know, the military has
Yeah,
changed.
I get it. So,
Did you
so the
see
new,
that? The thing was, you've got to start somewhere, aren't you?
yeah, definitely.
So you were at I wouldn't say the forefront of it all, but you got a brunt of it, of the change in attitudes. And it was people like you joining up and all that that's helped change them attitudes, I'd say. Did you see
I
a
think
difference
so.
as as you were going through?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I do think that, I was kind of like the trial, the dummy, but at the end of the day, the way I see it is that I paved the way for other people to do what I did.
Yeah.
Um, and I was more than capable. I was more than capable of doing the job. They tried to move me to signals once, and I didn't get on with that, so I ended up back in the guns. But I I do remember a couple of girls coming through working on the guns, and they didn't stay on the guns, which I found a bit sad. But then when I transferred, I moved after I did trade training for the AGC, which I absolutely loathed.
Was that
I
Worthy
went,
Down?
yeah, I went back to Germany, but I was in Gütersloh with the Army Air Corps. Had a great time. It was fucking amazing. And I was only there 8 months, and they promoted me because I was knowledgeable in a lot of things. I was capable in the job that I'd been given, and whatever, time served, all that nonsense. But when I was there, I ended up in Senelager for, I think the Air Corps went out, they did some training, and we ended up in Senelager. And I think it was four reg. What, it was either 1 or 4, and they were there, and there was like full screw women on the AS90s, and I was just like, that's fucking mega. You know what I mean? I thought that's mega. That's good. I'm happy as fuck. I'm gutted that it was not me, but at the end of the day, Frankie,
Yeah.
I paved the way. And now I'm quite proud of that.
Yeah, you should be. I mean, people think back. People listen to this and they want to think back to then, and you do think. I mean, it's what? Christ, it's what? I don't know. It's 25 odd years ago.
25 plus years, yeah.
Yeah, and the world's changed a lot since then.
No, God, we're getting old, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we are. Look, I'm wearing glasses now. I didn't used to. I've got less hair.
I'll wear glasses, Frankie. I'll wear glasses too, Frankie. Don't worry. Oh God, will you stop eating my knickers, dog? Stop it. This is my little dog. Oh, you're a nightmare, aren't you? You're not getting the cat. Anyway, so yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. But
if I can just go back a second as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned something earlier about the wives and some. I kind of remember things going on then, like blah 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 and stuff like that. One of the questions I did have written down for you was, in general, not specifically to individuals or whatever, but in general, how did you think that the wives treat you? Because I know, like, I went home and went, oh, we've got a woman in the battery type of thing, and like the missus was like, what? Because we were not used to it at all. Nobody was used to it, and I don't think as much as the blokes weren't, I don't think the wives were either. I think a few of them might have been jealous or whatever.
I don't know if it was jealousy. I think maybe they just felt a bit threatened. Because I was working with you. I know that when I got there, they hated me. They all hated me. Frankly, there wasn't any of them really that were welcoming. And do you know what? I don't think I would have been either if I had been in their shoes. But when they all got to know me, most of them were really sound. And actually, one of them went from hating me completely and utterly, and then not long after, it was every Sunday round her house for roast dinner. Do you know what I mean? It was brilliant. And most of the wifeys were sound. There was you obviously get your odd one or two who are just not ever going to be happy with the situation, because, you know, the older you are, the less you like change. And I get that, because there's a lot of stuff that changes that I don't like. But, yeah, I know they didn't like me initially, but a lot of them warmed up to me. Most of them warmed up to me. Don't know fucking why. I was a nutter.
So, in the AGC then, how long did you do in the AGC, sorry? You said earlier, I forgot.
10 years. I did 10 years in the AGC.
So where did you serve there?
Yeah, I joined the AGC in 2004 after I left the RHA, and I left in 2014. Well, I was medically discharged in 2014, thanks to Cameron and his cutbacks and his voluntary redundancies, and then his compulsory redundancies and his PAP 10, and yeah, what a fucking arsehole that was. The MO said to me, I was in his office for my final interview with him before either deciding, you know, whether I would stay in or get out. And he said to me, he says, you can go through all that process again if you want, and then, you know, you might end up staying in. And I'm like, no, I've just spent the best part of a year and a half being stressed out my nut, not knowing whether or not I'm going to get kicked out. I said, so just P8 med discharge me right now. I'm done. I've had enough. So he did.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, what were you medically discharged for?
I was discharged for my narcolepsy. Because when David Cameron brought in all these cutbacks and these redundancies, etc., etc., a lot of the people who were going through compulsory redundancies in the PAP 10 were those that were medically unfit, and that would never be medically fit. And that was me, because of my narcolepsy. I still had an awful lot of restrictions, although I'd been given a lot of my previous restrictions, which I'd initially been given, back to me. Like, initially I wasn't allowed to handle a weapon at all. I wasn't allowed to climb up any heights, so I couldn't do the assault course. I wasn't allowed to do any driving of military vehicles. There was a lot of stuff that I wasn't allowed to do. I wasn't allowed to go on the ranges at all, you know, but I'd been given that stuff back. I was allowed to go on the ranges, but I had to have someone stood behind me at all times. That was fine. I never failed the ranges. I was allowed to go and complete the assault course. Just obviously, as time went on, I learned a lot about my illness, and it became clear that I didn't have severe narcolepsy, but I did have narcolepsy. It was a very mild case, and I've still got it. I have it every day.
So how does it affect you?
Well, for the best part, I have to have a nap at least once a day for about 15-20 minutes. But a 5-minute cat nap makes me feel a lot better. I have to go to bed super early, and even though I have insomnia at night time, I have to force myself to stay in bed, because I know that because of my narcolepsy, I will go to sleep. I just won't never feel like I've been asleep. So I never feel awake. I never feel, you know, like a lot of people, they go to bed and they wake up the next morning and they feel, oh my God, I feel amazing. I've had a great sleep. I never feel like that. Always feel tired. I'm constantly tired.
Oh, that's shit. So there's like, you're on medication for that now?
No, I mean, I was. Initially, they gave me prescribed amphetamine-based drugs. Yeah, go figure. So initially, I well, they're not as good as they sound, frankly. Initially, I was taking one tablet and that would last me all day and fucking most of the night. But about a year down the line, I was taking 8 tablets just to get through a normal day, 9 to 5.
Wow.
You know, so I went back to the doc and I said, look, this is getting out of hand. The more I have, the more I need. So now I do have the tablets. I'm on a much higher dose, but I've said to the doc, I'm not going to use them on a daily basis. Now I just take them if I need them. So like, if I'm going on a long drive, if I was ever to have some sort of meeting, you know, where I needed to stay awake, any kind of nighttime work, if I needed to do. Will you stop biting me boobs? Seriously. Don't get a puppy, Frankie. Fuck me, they are a nightmare. Stop it.
I'll stick with my cat.
I've got one of them and all, look.
I can't see it behind you. That's a
Yeah.
bloody cat as well. So when you left and you were
Yeah.
medically discharged, did you get any help from the military when you left, or was it just...
My interview with the MO was on the 27th of October 2013. I basically got him to sign the paperwork. I went up, I handed in my keys, and I left, and that was it. I was done. I just dropped everything and left. I went home, I packed up all my shit, and little did I know I packed up all my medals at the same time. But I packed up all my shit, and I put it in an MFO box, and I had it in the Q-Man. And the only thing I kept was my softy sleeping bag, my buffalo, and there was something else that I kept, but I can't remember. Anyway, a long fucking time ago. Well, 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And that was me. I was done. But then I had the welfare officer, he came round and he was like, you know, rah, you've got until this date to, you know, he said, you've got till the end of March. You can stay, obviously, until your last day of service, which is the 27th of March next year, which would have been 2014. So I was like, okay, because at this point I had my son, and I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do. But he said to me, look, get in touch with these people here, go and do a resettlement course. Didn't have a fucking clue what I was going to do, Frankie. I didn't have a clue. I thought, well, let's get myself a good, decent paying job. So I went and did 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 health and safety courses. I did the general, I did the environmental, and I did the fire. But I fucking hated it. It was all classroom based shit. I fucking hated it. So I thought, well, I finished that and I was just like, do you know what? I do not want to do this as a job because it's all office based work, and the last thing I want to do is sit in another office for years before I'm even able to go out and do any inspections, etc. So no, thank you. And I just left. And I thought, I haven't got a clue what I'm going to do, but I'm going to wait until my son has to start school and then I'll get a job. So I signed on, which was a fucking nightmare. I signed on when I moved down south, because at the time I was living in Edinburgh, the time I left, I was living in Edinburgh. And then by the November, I moved down here to where I am now in Surrey. And spent time doing up my house as best I could, because I moved in here, there was fucking nothing, and there was no carpets, nothing. It was just nothing. Anyway, I signed on, and I was still getting paid. So I got paid right up until the end of March. So I was fine in that respect. But then the end of March came. I wasn't getting no more wages. Thankfully, the next month I started getting my pension.
So going back to, right, you got out, so you got a medical pension?
Yeah, because I got a P8 discharge, I got an immediate medical pension. So that was helpful, and thankfully, you know, as everything's gone up, it's also gone up. But it just covers my rent, and that's it. And I'm quite lucky where I live. Rent's really expensive around here. But I'm in housing association. That's another story. That's another podcast I'll tell you. And you know, it's pretty cheap, so I'm quite lucky that way.
No, you should move up here.
Yeah, I moved down south, Frankie, because I don't like the weather up north. Otherwise, I'd have just stayed up north and bought a house.
It's lovely.
Well, it is at the minute, but it's also lovely down here at the minute.
Yeah, I mean Surrey's it's a bit of a distance, isn't it? So why Surrey? Why did you end up in Surrey?
Well, out of all the counties, Surrey, Hampshire, Wiltshire, my favourites. And I did quite a bit of extensive research before I left as about to where I wanted to live. I wanted better schooling. I wanted better, like where I grew up, people got shot, stabbed, run over. It was a regular occurrence. Lots of drugs, lots of drink, lots of fights, lots of the town getting trashed. The whole football, Rangers, Celtic, Protestant Catholic mentality. I didn't want any of that for Tyler. I didn't want any of that bias. I just wanted him to come down here. I just wanted something different, something better. You know, I didn't want him to have to fucking deal with all that. I hated it. And I didn't want to watch him growing up into that. So that's one of the reasons. Another reason, that's the main reason I moved down here. The weather came a very close second, though. my last year in Scotland, I seen 1 week of sunshine in a whole year. So yeah, no.
Fair enough.
I was not staying.
So going back to the military stuff then, with the AGC, where did you serve with them?
So I left 3RHA in 2004, and I went and did trade training at Worthy Down, and that was 3 or 4 weeks. I think it was 4 weeks. Then I went to 1 Reg Army Air Corps, and they were in Gütersloh in Germany, and I did about 8 or 9 months with them. I got promoted to Lance Corporal, and I moved to HQ&I. That's headquarters, Northern Ireland, and they were in Lisbon, and I worked in the visits department, and I really enjoyed it. Although I didn't enjoy the officers coming to me going, Corporal Meheut, can you fax this for me? Corporal Meheut, can you photo this for me? Corporal Meheut, can you type this for me? It really bugged me. My job was in Northern Ireland, my job was to make sure anybody coming in and out of Northern Ireland had the correct clearance. They had an itinerary of where they were going and what they were doing. They had a driver, they had security, and it was all basically safe for them to come and visit. Because most of the people that came to visit that we dealt with were major generals and the likes.
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed it. It was all right. I had to go with my sergeant 1 week because there was only 3 of us in the visits office. Every other week, it was either me or the other lads who was on duty for that weekend on call. Basically, it was just call, but you know, it was work, so we couldn't have a drink. We couldn't, you know, go anywhere or do anything. Couldn't go home if we wanted to. And I said to him, "Where are you? Where are you at the weekends? And why can't you do a shift? Why can't you do 1 weekend and 3?" And he went, "Well, I've got a wife and kids." And I'm like, "And? You were in the military." I literally just, you know, had a rant at him. I think I was about 26 at the time, and I'd just had enough, basically. I was like, "Do you know what? You may be a fucking sergeant, but if you can't pull your weight, then you don't fucking deserve to be a sergeant." There's only 3 of us. I took it to my my boss, and she said, "Whilst you're right, you shouldn't have spoke to him like that." And I'm like, well, quite frankly, having a conversation with him is like trying to draw blood out of a stone. I said, he don't listen, you know. So it all got sorted, and eventually, you know, my rant was worthy because he ended up having to do at least 1 weekend a month, which was fine. I didn't have an issue. He was happy to do duty through the week. So I said to him, "Well, if you do duty all week, and then we'll do the weekends." But he was obviously like, "Well, no, that's not happening." So it's just like, yeah, you're such a fucking unfair twat. You know, that's just shit. That's just shit. Either do or just fuck off. Go somewhere else. Yeah. He didn't like me much, but I didn't like him, so the feeling was mutual. So I spent 3 years in Northern Ireland. After Northern Ireland, I went to Bulford. I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Do you know what? As much as Bulford's a shithole, I was there with the Signals, 3 UK Div and Signals Regiment, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, well, basically just got pissed all the time and got naked a lot, got pissed a lot. Don't even know why. I was just
There's a kind of theme goes through your career, then, isn't there?
get pissed a lot. Yeah. Well, I still get pissed, but not to the extent that I used to.
I don't think it's possible as a civvy.
Oh, I don't know. I'm quite drink fit, Frankie, and a lot of people try and keep up with me, but let's
Drink
just say
fit.
I always out drink them. So I think it's quite funny, especially civvies. And I'm quite lucky where I am, because I'm in association housing. Where my association is called Hague Housing, and so everybody around me has an affiliation with the military. And there are 3 estates in my village that have ex-military personnel in them. No, not all of them are ex-army, but the majority of them are. There's a couple of Navy. I don't even know if there's any RAF. But I do know a guy that is in the RAF, who was in the RAF, who's local. But I don't think he lives in a Hague house. But,
I've heard of the Hague Housing. I think they've got an estate up in Newcastle as well.
They've got estates all over the country, nationwide. They've even got estates in Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales. Yeah. So it's nationwide. And there was a lot of choice when I was deciding where I wanted to live, and I could have went anywhere, Frankie, anywhere. But I wanted to move here.
I think there was when I looked at it. When I ended up, me and Sue ended up splitting up. I looked at that as an option, and the waiting list was massive. It didn't turn out to be an option for me.
There is always a waiting list, but I had put myself. I was quite lucky because I knew at some point I was going to get kicked out. I phoned them up and I said to them, "Look, this is what's happening. This is my medical diagnosis. I need. Well, I'm looking to get one of these places down here where I live." And they said, "There's a massive waiting list, but we can't actually give you a house until you know your discharge date."
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to name any names, and I haven't so far, so I'm not going to start now. But I went to my OC and I said, "Look, boss," I said, and we got on brilliant, great guy. He's left now, I think. He was a great guy. Anyway, I said, "Look, boss, I am obviously going to be getting discharged because of my medical condition. They're never going to keep me." I said, "So I need you to write a letter and tell them that I'm going to be discharged on this date, so that I can get my house. Otherwise, I can't." And I explained it all to him, and I told him, that this is what they've said. I can't get a house until they know my discharge date. Because of the PAP-10 drama, I wouldn't know what my discharge date was. And he went, "Yeah, that's fine, no problem." And about an hour later, I had a letter in my hand. And I took a picture and I emailed it to them. And I took a copy and I sent them the original. I came down to have a look at the house in July. I think it was in the July. And I said, "Brilliant, I'll take it." Because one came up. The lady that lived here passed away. She was like 97. So they gave me the house in October. I was pretty much done anyway, even though my official discharge date wasn't until the 27th of March, 2014. It was just a little white lie so that I could get my house. Otherwise, I wouldn't have my house. I'd have to move somewhere else, go somewhere else, and I didn't want that.
It's not so much
There's
a
ways
white
and
lie.
means.
It's just the way it
Ways and
works, isn't
means,
it?
Frankie.
Yeah, it's just the way it
Oh
works.
yeah, ways and means. That's it, mate. I get that they've got their rules about how you go about these things, and yeah, I get that some people do it properly, but at the end of the day, rules are made to be broken. You're just not meant to get caught breaking them. That's all it is.
I heard an old saying off a guy let's say, well, it was when I was in MCTC for 6 months, and one of the screws used to come up behind you when you were on parade, and he was a little fella. We used to call him Penfold, so he looked like Penfold, Danger Mouse. Honestly,
Yeah, I
tiny,
remember that.
and he used to be able to move around without you hearing him, and he'd literally stand behind you, and then wait for you to start fucking about, and he'd just whisper, "Rules are for fools and the guidance of wise men. Which one are you?" And you didn't know what to say to start with. But it's like it's a good thing, or it's a when you think about it, rules are there,
No,
but
I'm
it's a
all with it,
guideline.
and I tell my son the same thing. I said, "Do you know what, big lad? Rules are for breaking. Yeah, you just need to not get caught doing it."
Rules are guidelines.
But that's it. They are really guidelines, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
you just need to know how to wangle them to your favour, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. So that was you done with the military then?
Well, no. So I was in Bulford. Sorry, I was in Bulford, and I did about 8 months in Bulford, and I got promoted to full screw.
Ah, right.
So on promotion, so it was round about this time. Do you know, like when you get promoted, you could phone up and tell them like you used to be able to phone up Glasgow and say, "I've just been promoted. I want to go here. This is where I want to go. This is the unit I want to join." It was around about this time where they'd stopped all that, and you didn't get a fucking choice in where you went. So I was one of the last. Thankfully, this was the last time I had to do it. But when I phoned them up and I spoke to the lady, and she's like, "Well, we're not doing this anymore." And I said, "Right, okay. So what's available?" I wasn't given her much of an option. I think she just got fed up with me pestering her, and she told me, she said, "Right, this is what you've got. This is what you can do." And I just said, "Right, I've not been to Scotland, and all the time I've been in the military, and I'd been in the military. What at this point I'd been in the military 12, about 12 years,
Yeah.
11, 12 years, and I was like, let's go home. But I didn't want to go to Glasgow, so I made them. Well, I asked if I could go to Edinburgh, and I got one Scots in Edinburgh, and they were at Dreghorn Barracks in Edinburgh. And what a bunch of fucking nutters they were. Oh my God. And do you know what? I thought we were nutters in the artillery, but fucking shit the bed. Obviously, being AGC, a lot of my job was, all my job was HR, but discipline was one of them as well. I learnt so much about what stuff we never knew when I was in the artillery. You never got told a lot. Anyway, so the discipline files for my company were just ridiculous. And I was in charge of C company, and I really liked that. D company. I was in charge of D company, not C company. D company. And they were apparently the quietest of the companies. They were a pretty big company, but there was like 158 of them. So I had to deal with everything. I didn't have no one to help me. I was on my fucking own, and that was quite hard. But I got it all sorted, so I was quite chuffed with that. Yeah, quite chuffed with that, and I got on really well. I got on really well with just about everybody. And obviously, there's always people that don't like you, but I really don't give a shit. And after, I think I was 26 when I hit my I don't give a shit button. But it fucking kicked off, and the older I get, the less of a shit I give, and now I'm 44. I really don't give a shit about fucking anything, and a lot of people don't understand that, and they can't quite get it through their heads, or they can't quite process how I just don't give a shit. And I'm like, well, if it doesn't affect me, my son, my life, then why should I give a shit? Why the fuck should I? Think it's just my generational thing, and I've come across a lot of Gen X who just don't give a shit. I think it's awesome.
It's what it is. It's not that we don't give a shit. It's that it just can't be bothered with the drama.
Yeah, so we don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's just like,
I'm with you, Frankie. I've got no tolerance No tolerance for idiots, no tolerance for fools or drama. So I just don't give a shit. That's the way it is. Anyway, so I did 6 years with one Scots. And do you know what, Frankie? So I had now been restricted with my narcolepsy for about 10 years. And my REO was a good guy. He was gleaming. My first one anyway, the second one not so much. But was a guy, and his name was Dean. I won't go on about his second name, but he was gleaming. And he was trying so fucking hard to get me out to Afghan with everybody. Because the lads had been going out to Afghan well, since it started, you know, and I'd sent them over there like 3 times, and the RAO came to me and he was like, "Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to go, you know, but it's my job. I'm a soldier. I want to go. If they're going, I want to go." And he was like, "Right, I'll make it happen." And I'm pretty sure we got back off Christmas leave, right? And I had spent the best part of a month in South Africa with my then. Well, I started my journey in South Africa with my then boyfriend and ended up ex-boyfriend by the end of it. Anyway, cut a long story short, I walked into his office and I'm pretty sure he was going to tell me, "I've got you a place. You can go to Afghan." And I turned around and told him I was fucking pregnant and I couldn't go. I was fucking furious with myself. But do you know what? When I told him I was pregnant, he did not believe me. He was like, "No, you're not." And I'm like, "Nah, boss, seriously, I'm pregnant." He's like, "Fuck off, Nat." And we had a like, it was like we were just mates. And he was like, "Fuck off, Nat." And I went, "I'm serious, boss. I am pregnant." And he went, "You've got to be fucking kidding me." And he couldn't believe it. Then he burst out laughing. And to be quite honest, at 30, I was shitting myself. At 30 years old, I was shitting myself because I was pregnant. Honestly, I've never done anything so scary. Fucking been to Bosnia, been to Ireland, been out to Iraq, but shit the bed, get pregnant. That was the fucking scariest of all things that I've done.
So, was he born while you were in the army still, or?
Yeah. So, he was born in 2010, in September, and yeah, he was 3 when we moved here.
So how did the army treat you while you were pregnant then, and time off and maternity and stuff like that?
They were decent, you know. Everybody was sound, and because they all knew who the dad was with the father, the sperm donor. I call him the sperm donor. That's all he's known to me as. So he, because they all knew who the sperm donor was, they were all super disappointed in him. And so everybody was sound. Everybody was awesome. Obviously, you get those ones that are just twats anyway. Again, didn't give a fuck. So I was just like, whatever. The CO was sweet as nuts. The RSM was sweet as nuts. The REO, he was sound. I worked right up until my last month. Yeah, so in my last month, that's when I started only working. I came in late in the morning and I left early in the afternoon because everything just exhausted me so much more. But they were fine with that, you know, because I'd done an extensive handover of the company, my job, and so it was all pretty sweet. And I got my 6 months maternity leave, but it was the fucking worst thing that could ever happen, frankly, I swear to God. I must have spent a whole month in my fucking same pajamas. I had massive postnatal depression. I made sure he was fine. I made sure my son was sorted, you know, fed, cleaned, dressed, anything that needed doing, fine. My mum stayed with me for about a week, and then she had to go home. And then after that was just fucking downhill for me. I had massive postnatal depression. I didn't deal with it very well. I was terrified because I was on my own. I didn't know how to fucking be a mum. My mum she worked all the time. She was never around. I don't blame her, but you know, she was just always working. So I didn't know anything. I was fucking petrified. But I sacked my I sacked my nurse. Like, you get one of those nurses that comes round every day for the first 10 days or whatever they're called. Midwife.
Yeah.
Midwife. I sacked her after day 3 because I had 3 different midwives come in each day for 3 days. And they all said different things about the same thing. And I'm just like, do you know what? Fuck off. You're confusing me. Just, if I need anything, I'll go to the doctor. He's only down the road, like 5 minutes away. I said, so just stop coming. I don't want you here. just fuck off. So I sacked her after day 3 and they never came back. And that was fine. It suited me down. But yeah, it was hard. It was hard. Going back to work, in all honesty, was probably the best and worst thing that I could have done, because I had to go back after 6 months. They thought I was physically fit or fit enough to get back into PT, but my pelvis, obviously your pelvis as a woman, your pelvis splits when you have a child. It had not yet knitted together, so when I'm out tabbing, it's fucking grinding together, and the fucking pain was awful. So even though I had to do PE, I was not fit enough. I wasn't ready to do it. I did go back to the med centre and I spoke to the MO and said, look, just your pelvis, it's not knitted back together yet. It's just, it still fucking hurts. So I got signed off for another couple of months and that helped. And I just got back into, I got light duties. So I could do like PE, but I couldn't go out tabbing, and I couldn't do miles and miles of running. I could do like about 20 minutes. I did about 20 minutes each day, just light sort of PE. Yeah. But yeah. It took a while. But again, blokes, they think they know fucking women's bodies, and after 6 months they're all supposed to be fine, but now my pelvis hadn't knitted back together yet, and it fucking hurt like a bitch. And then they all whinged at me, fucking women, you can't do it, you fucking can't do it, you want to join the military and then you go off and have kids. Well, hold on a minute, you fuckers are the ones that impregnate us. Yeah, you're the ones that fucking want children, and then you whinge at us when we fucking have them. So
I mean, years ago, if you got pregnant, you got kicked out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I'm glad that never happened to me, frankly.
So,
well, actually, that's not true. That's not true, Frankie. I had 2 abortions and a miscarriage when I was in the RHA. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kept that one quiet, didn't I?
Yeah. Bloody hell. I'm sorry to hear about that.
That's all right, Frankie. The 2 were my choice. 1 was not. And I tell you what, I thought I was fucking dying when I had my miscarriage. Shit the bed. Literally thought I was dying.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's so weird.
I've been through it as well. Well, I haven't, obviously.
Yeah.
Did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good.
No.
Here's a question for you then. So when you went to work after having a burn, did you manage your childcare? Did you get help from the military, or did you have to pay for it? Oh.
I had to pay for it.
Yeah.
So initially I put him in a nursery, and he would go there. He'd be there at like 8:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning, and he'd be there until like 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the evening. But after a month, he ended up with DV, and he was in the hospital for 3 days with dehydration, and just lack of minerals, really, because it was coming out both ends. And I never sent him back after that. I was just like, you know what? No, it's gross. Like, constant runny nose, constant green snot, constant coughing, sneezing, and then DV to the point where he ended up in a hospital. So then what I did was got one of the wifeys did like childcare, and so I paid her a lot less, but a lot of money to look after him while I was at work. And that was fine, because I would drop him off at work with Caroline on my way to work, and then I'd pick him up on the way home from work, and that was sweet. But it's really hard work, because I went home and the work didn't stop. I then had to make dinner, feed my son, and then I had to play with my son, and then I had to bath my son, and then I had to, get him to bed. And, it's definitely fucking harder than anything I've ever done in the military, being a mother. No questions. That stopped because her husband came on to me and she found out about it and she blamed me. But I told her the truth. We went out in the piss. He came on to me. And she found out about it. I don't know how she found out about it, but she found out about it. Anyway, so that stopped. I got somebody else to do it for a little while. Then she got pregnant and she couldn't cope. So I would drop him at my mother's, half an hour away, 45 minutes. I would drop him off at her house on a Sunday night. And then I'd drive over to hers on the Friday night after work, and I'd either bring her back to mine or I'd stay at my parents' because there was really no point in fucking driving another 45 minutes just to drive back again on the Sunday night. So he basically spent every week from about a year old with my parents. And I paid my mum the same amount of money I paid the childminders to have him through the week so that I could go to work unhindered. And I hated it because I missed everything, frankly. I missed his first words. I missed his first steps. There was a lot of things, if I could have done it differently, I wouldn't, because, I didn't know any better at the time, even though I know better now. But he's got such a good relationship with my mum because of all that time he spent with her.
Yeah.
So, and I like that. I like that he has that.
So, I mean, that's something that probably a lot of soldiers and anyone who's listening to this won't appreciate because we're blokes. You know what I mean? It's like
no shit, Frankie.
Yeah, I mean, they won't appreciate the hard work it is, especially like being a single mum who's in the military. The shit you've got to go through. You see, the reason I asked that is I've not personally known anyone who's done it apart from yourself. Or, like now. That I would have thought that there'd have been some type of package that the military would have helped with, either a bit of extra cash or childcare or something like that, or something towards it. But I mean, again, anyone old and bold listening to this will probably be going, well, it's their own fault. It was their choice. It's their decision. So, it has to sort it out herself. Well, fuck you. But, we want to keep soldiers in the military, and there's women in the army, they get pregnant. I think we should give them a little bit more help towards that. You know what I mean?
I don't actually have an opinion on it because I haven't really thought about it. It would have been nice to have had a bit of childcare help because, quite frankly, it was extortion. It was like over $1,000 a month to put him in childcare during the week. But given that the childcare wasn't great, and I would definitely never do that again, I think maybe there should be like an on-camp crash or something. Even, like in the NAFI.
But I mean, I suppose in the end,
somewhere.
There's not that many single mums in the army.
No, but even if they've had a crash, even if they had a crash at the welfare centre, so when I was with the infantry, one Scots up Edinburgh, they had a welfare house. They could have turned one of those rooms into, or even the upstairs into, a creche during the day, and had the wife, one of the wifeys or a couple of the wifeys employed to look after the kiddos for the day. That would have been helpful. I don't know. This is just me spitballing. So again, I don't really have an opinion because I'm all done and dusted. Thank fuck. And at the time, I just got on with it. It is what it is, and I ain't gonna fucking whinge and moan too much about it because at the end of the day, that's not gonna do anything. That's not gonna help much. No. So I just got on with it, and I did what I needed to do, and we got through it.
Well, up until about 6.5 minutes ago, I never had an opinion on it either. It was only with you saying that I thought, that maybe there should have been help, or There should have been something.
Well, it would have been nice. It would have been nice, Frankie. But it's again done and dusted. I don't know what it's like now. I don't know if I've got any female friends that are still in. I think most of them are out now. So I don't know.
So that was you at the end of your service then?
Yeah, One Scots was the last unit, and as I was leaving, they were all moving to Northern Ireland. Like the whole unit was just fucking upped and moved to Aldergrove.
Yeah.
In Northern Ireland. And little did I know, when I fucking handed my box in, all my medals were in there. I was fucking raging. I got a commendation or something like that. I don't know. And that was probably in there as well, because I haven't seen it since. I had to get replacement medals, which I was pretty pissed off about, but I got them anyway. Cost a lot of fucking money, though, I'll tell you.
Couldn't you apply to the army for them?
Well, yeah, I mean, I could have asked Glasgow. I would have still had to pay for them. It still cost me a lot more money, probably not as much, but they would have all had R's on them, so I didn't. I just got them done by a private company. None of them have an R on them.
Yeah.
so nobody thinks I'm a moron, and I fucking threw my medals in an MFO box and handed them into Q stores. and do you know what? About 2 years ago, I got a message from someone. I don't know who they were. A message from someone in Aldergrove saying, "Oh, we found this medal. It looks like it belongs to you." And I'm like, "Yeah, that'll be mine." 1 of 6, Frankie, 1 of 6. And then about 2 weeks later, somebody piped up saying they had another one. Both of them bastardized. So some fuckers tried pikeying my medals because they were all
Talk mounted.
yeah, mounted. And they were all fitted and mounted. So fuck knows. But yeah, I had to get them renewed, so I had to do that, and I've done that, and it's fine, whatever.
Probably end up on eBay somewhere, to be honest.
They probably have, Frankie, but you know what? It's what it is. Yeah. I'm not gonna fucking lose sleep over it.
You spoke about what you're doing now before we started recording, so do you just want to go through that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So when I left and I did those fucking shitty courses on health and safety, obviously I didn't want to do that, so I fucking chinned that off. And I was on social. I was on, well, not universal credits because they hadn't quite brought it out yet, but I was on like the social for about a year, maybe a year and a couple of months or so. And I fucking hated it. It was awful. Absolutely awful. The shit you have to go through just to get some fucking money, right? Anyway, when my son turned 4, they were like, "Yeah, right, yeah, you need to get a job now." And I went, "Okay, fine, fuck you." I got a job working for a private school, because there's a lot of them down here. I got a job working in a private school as a kitchen hand, and I fucking hated that. Well, I didn't hate it. Actually, for the first year, I really enjoyed it, because it was all private.
Yeah.
Even the kitchen staff, they were all private. It was a private chef, it was private cooks, private, everything was private. And it was really good. And it was a nice little sort of family. It was a lot of fucking bullshit, but do you know what? I put up with it. I've had a lot worse. Anyway, so it was quite nice. But then after a year, for some reason, I think cutting costs or whatever, they decided to get some fucking corporate company in. And I was like, this is not going to go good. This is not going to go good. Anyway, it didn't go good. And fucking 3 months later, I was gone. I was like, no fucking way. I'm not doing that. Fuck off. And at the time, well, while I was claiming social, I was doing cleaning for cash in hand. And I'd met a guy who worked in film and television, and I did some HR for him. So I had 3 jobs, basically. Well, while I was on a social, I had 2 jobs, and they were both cash in hand. And then, obviously, I did the working at the school, and that was 5 days a week. But it was 9:30 till 2:30, so it meant that I could work around my son's school, so I could drop him at school and I could pick him up from school. Everything that I had to do, I wanted to be able to spend time with my son. I had missed a lot in the first few years because I was still in the military, and I didn't want to miss anymore. So I wanted to be able to drop him at school, and I wanted to be able to pick him up from school and spend time with him. So all the jobs I wanted to be able to work around childcare, basically. So I did really well with the cleaning, and I like cleaning. I fucking love cleaning people's houses because, one, I'm a nosy cunt, and two, I've got OCD. All right, so I was really fucking good, and all my clients were really happy. There was obviously a few people who thought I was a bit too pernickety, and I wasn't fast enough or whatever. So I was like, fine, whatever. See you later. I'll get another one anyway. So I did. I got loads of jobs. It was never an issue. Working was never an issue, and making money was never an issue. And also, I got my pension. You know, my wages stopped. Military wages stopped, and my army pension started. So it was fine. Not nearly as much as what I was earning, but, you know, enough.
Yeah.
And then when that corporate business came in, after about working for a year in that school, I met I've made friends with one of the school mums. I'm going to call her a school mum because at the time she was a school mum. She was a nanny. She used to look after other people's kids. She'd take them at school, she'd pick them up from school, and she'd have them after school. But I started fostering French bulldogs. Now, I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but I started fostering French bulldogs about a year after I moved here, and I would walk the dogs to and from school. So as I'm walking to and from school, I met this fucking crazy woman. I'm not kidding you, Frankie, right? I'm just walking Tyler to school, dropped him off, that's great. I come out, I pick my dog up, I have to tie her outside at the fence because you can't take them into school in case they shit and piss. Anyway, I picked her up, and as I'm leaving to go home, right, this woman going, "Oh my God, you've got a Frenchie! Oh my God!" And I'm just like, what the actual fuck? You know, I'm like, whoa. And I'm just looking at her like, you're a fucking psycho, stay away from me. But she was like, "Oh my God, I've got a Frenchie too!" You know, and she was crazy. But and then she's like, "We should meet up and we should go for a walk together, blah, blah, blah." And I said to her, "Listen, this is a rescue. I've just fostered her. She's fucking terrified of everything. I'm not going fucking walking with no one." She's like, "Oh my God, well, see no." And I was like, "Okay, goodbye." And I tried my fucking hardest to avoid this woman at all costs, right? I'm not even kidding, Frankie. But every time I fucking turned up at school with a dog, there was this crazy woman. And to the point where she would bring her fucking dog to school too. Eventually, I got so fucking fed up with it, I thought, fine, if I don't fucking go for a walk with this woman, I'm never going to hear fucking end of it. She's always going to come up to me to talk to me and say we need to go for a walk with the Frenchies. So I thought, fine. So I made a date to go on a walk with her and her Frenchie because I was rescuing French bulldogs in a park. And I thought, right, fine, I'll go for a walk, get it over and done with. I'll never fucking speak to her again. That'll be great. Be the end of it. But actually, do you know what, Frankie? I got to the fucking park and she started talking and she did not shut up. But you know what? I really liked her and we got on fucking really well. Go and figure, eh? So anyway, we became really good friends and actually we became best mates. And I was round her house one day and we were talking about fucking dogs, and I was still fostering French bulldogs, and she had adopted one of my fosters. So she now had two French bulldogs, and I had adopted one, and I'd had quite a few through the door at this point, and we decided that we preferred dogs to people and children. So we thought, fuck it, we'll just start a dog walking business. So we had a chat with one of our other friends who had a French bulldog. Go and figure. And she's quite a knowledgeable person. She's really intelligent, young lass, and she works in marketing, but she's really smart. So we were having a chat, all three of us, sort of spitballing ideas at each other, and we came up with a business name. We started a website, although we didn't need the website in the end. We left it up for a couple of years and then got shot of it. And now all of our business is done by word of mouth. So, but you know, most of it recommendations on social media. And so we now work quite happily, making quite a lot of money from people around this area who've got more money than sense, and there's a lot of them. And so yeah, my business is now for the last 6 years dog walking, daycare, and boarding, and I make a lot of it. I make a lot of money.
Cool. Really good. So honestly, I'm chuffed for you.
I've got 3 of my own dogs, and I pretty much have custody of another dog, but she's not mine. I have all the benefits of owning the dog with 0 financial benefit and an actual 100% financial gain out of it as well. She never goes home. She's been home for she went home January. She went home for one night. So I dropped her off at 5:30 and then picked her up at 8:30 in the morning. So I dropped her off 5:30 p.m. and picked her up at 8:30 a.m. And then she had to go to the vets one day, so I dropped her off about 11 a.m. and she was back here by 6 p.m. So she's gone home twice in January, and it's a long old month, January, mate. She pretty much lives at my house.
You sound as though you're in a good place now.
I am, mate. Do you know what? I still have good days and bad days. You know, it's like fucking everybody. You know, we all have good days and we all have bad days. But I just got to remember that tomorrow's another day and it might be a better day. So I just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And some days are harder than other days. I'll definitely not disagree with that. But again, I've got my son and I've got my dogs and I've got my business. So I've got a lot to be thankful for. I've got a roof over my head, although my house is falling apart. I've got a roof over my head and there's a lot to be thankful for. I'm just, you know, I'm alive. There are so many that aren't.
Yeah.
So many that I know that aren't. And that always fucking kills me. But yeah, it could be worse. It could be a lot worse, mate. I could be fucking homeless.
Yeah.
I could be broke. I could be an addict of any kind, although I think maybe I might have a drink problem. But I think maybe I'm a functioning alcoholic, not a non-functioning alcoholic.
I think we know a few of them. I mean, there's two on this conversation anyway, so we all suffer that. I think that's like, I blame the army for the culture that you were brought into.
I don't blame the army. I was a drinker before I joined the army, so I can't blame the army. I think it was just, our generation, we were fucked out first thing in the morning and we weren't allowed to return until streetlights came on or it got dark. So we just found shit to do, didn't we?
Yeah.
We found shit to entertain ourselves, and a lot of it was smoking, drinking, drugs, rock and roll, all that kind of shit.
True.
But yeah, I think I'm definitely, fuck me, I am in a much better place. I do miss it. In fact, I don't think I miss it as much as I miss everybody that I spent time with. I miss the banter, the laughs, the parties. I miss the barbecues. I miss the battery bar. But actually, sometimes I do miss the work, and I do miss going on tour, and I just don't miss the bullshit. And do you know what? They've been talking about conscriptions, haven't they, on the news recently?
Yeah.
And even though do you know what, Frankie? I am as patriotic as they come, and I'm that's no lie. And I did 16 years, and I would have stayed in the full 22 if I hadn't been medically discharged. But there is fucking no way I will pick up arms for this government ever again. No way.
It's going to happen. Yeah, I think it's
the media. I don't think so either. But I still would never pick up arms for the government. If they asked me, even if I was able to, if they asked me, the answer would be no, Frankie. Don't get me wrong, I'd be on the fucking roof and I'd have some fucking weapon, but I wouldn't do it for the government. I'd be doing it for myself.
Yeah.
And my son. And my neighbours and my friends. Because what's the point? What's the point when all you do is you get persecuted in 10 years' time?
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand that. My neighbour was in Ireland when the IRA were doing. Well, we were at the height of their bombing and shooting of military personnel, and he's got cancer, and just like Soldier A and Soldier F, they're after him. They're after him. They're gunning for him, and I don't get it. I don't get it. Do you know what? We go, we get told what to do, we do it, and then we get shafted for it. And look, I'm not saying everybody's fucking saints or everybody's fucking angels. What I am saying is that at the end of the day, it's a job. It's a job. You've got a boss. The boss has got a boss. The boss's boss has got a boss. And the boss's boss says, fucking do that. The boss's boss says, do that. The boss says, do that. That's what we fucking do. Why are we being persecuted for it? And do you know what? Oh my God, I can't even begin to go on about the government at this moment in time, Frankie, because that shit will just never end. So I'll leave that one for another fucking day, maybe.
Right, well, on that cheery note, I think we'll stop the podcast. It's been
No
great
worries,
talking
mate.
to you. It really has been great talking to you, and I've,
Well, I hope we get to meet up soon.
Well, I do as well, because since I've started doing this, I spent probably 10 years where I never spoke to anyone. Literally no one.
Frankie,
Never spoke to anyone. And since I've
Frankie,
started
I
doing
got out
this,
10 years ago.
yeah,
I got out 10 years ago, and in September just gone, that was the first PPMA I ever went to.
yeah, I believe you.
The first one.
I was exactly the same. And since I started doing this, and I've only been doing this 3 weeks, right? I've spoken to more people in the last 3 weeks, whether it be on Facebook or on like WhatsApp or on chats like
Messenger.
this, than I have done in the last 10 years. And I'm finding that camaraderie that I lost is starting to come back. You know what I mean? You start missing people again, like thinking, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember the nights we used to have in the battery bars and stuff like that in J Barry, and they were fucking great. You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yo!
well, we all did shit we
And
shouldn't have
the
done.
fucking slush bucket.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell.
I mean, Christ, when they had the hiding on the scaffolding outside, when they were doing the roofing on the battery bar, when they had the scaffolding on, they were throwing people out the windows and shit like that. Yeah, man, I miss it all. Well, anyway, I'm going to end the podcast now. So thanks for talking. Thanks for getting in touch with us and allowing us to tell your story. Again, if anyone wants to buy me a coffee, please visit the link in the show notes. Also, consider if you want to buy any coffee from Danger Club's Coffee. There's also a link in the show notes as well for a 10% discount. Thanks for listening in. I hope you'll enjoy the next one when that comes out in about a week's time or so. Anyway, now, bye-bye now.